You're here with Nate 28 and this is Crossbeats Production. So I was trialing out this new plugin from Izotope. It's called Neutron, and it's pretty impressive, to be honest. I kind of felt like it's really cheating to a degree, but at the same time, I guess everybody's chasing a mix and they really want the best mix they can get in the fastest time possible. I'm no means trying to sell this product. I don't have any ties to Izotope at all. As you can see, this is a trial version. So I just wanted to give you guys, I guess, an overview of how it works, like a brief overview, and explain to you kind of what it's done to just one thing in my mix to make it really stand out. So the mix that I've got here, it's a beat that I just made for another video. I'm sure if you are on my channel, you probably know this beat already. But the one thing that I was actually doing a mastering track for another client, and one thing I picked up on this plugin was that it started to not teach me things. Well, I guess you could say it taught me a couple of different things. But on the way it uses the compressor, the way it EQs certain things, like for example this EQ curve is based on the drum tracks that I have on my actual mix. So just to give you an example of what it sounds like before and after, I just wanted to play it to you with the kick. Actually, it's the full drum mix, sorry, and let you hear how the drums sound without it and then with it, and then I want to explain what I think it's done and how the track assistant has worked around making certain things clearer and more upfront and taken away some of the sounds that don't sound good. So let me just play the mix first without it so you can hear what it sounds like, and then I'll play it with it on there, and you can see for yourself what a difference it's made on the mix. So, and that's just on one track. So let's go with that. Alright, now I'll just go between the two so you can hear the difference, and then I'll play it with it. So focus on the drums, because that's what this actually is focusing on right now. So like, wow. To be honest, like, I feel like I just cheated because I didn't do anything. All I did was press track assistant and it came up with these presets, and to be honest, like, the presets that it comes up with are pretty good. I mean, if you go on any other you know, audio VST that has presets and you have like a pre-made preset, obviously that preset is made for whatever that was, the radio or the audio source that it was working on. This actually makes presets on the fly, and it makes them according to what it feels like it needs to do. So as you can see, it's cut out some frequencies here at 150, it's cut out some frequencies here at 1940, and then it's added some top end frequencies at 4.5. Also added some low end frequencies at 48 Hertz, and then it's cut it's done a low pass, a high pass with a 23. So it's added some low end frequencies, yes, and that's what makes the bass of the kick sound really good. I mean, prior to this, my mix, it didn't sound terrible, but it definitely didn't have that that low end oomph that kick had when I put this plugin on. The other thing it does it adds to the mix though is some of this exciter, which I use I use isotope alloy, and that's what I use to mix this. And as you can see, I've already mixed in some of the characteristics of what you can see on Neutron. And these plugins are quite similar, and I mean, by all means, if you're interested in this plugin, go demo it, because it really gives a unique way of mixing, and I must say it kind of speeds up your mix. But one thing I guess you want to really watch out for is not getting used to using something that's like a track assistant on every single thing that you do, because eventually I feel like, yes, you'll sort of know if you watch the EQ curves and you watch the way that it uses the EQ. Yeah, you'll learn certain things. And the other thing is, I want to explain in a minute about the compressor. But to the EQ, I mean, there's certain things that you do learn just by watching what this focuses on and how it adjusts to the frequencies. And the other thing is, I mean, if you notice, especially with the hi-hat, the closed hi-hat, it really brought that closed hi-hat out, and that was specifically because this, 4.5K frequency was boosted by 2.5 decibels, and that obviously is going to bring that frequency out. But the thing is, it used such a technique where the Q on this didn't cause a nasty high-pitched piercing sound with the hi-hat. But that has also something to do with the fact that the way the compressor is probably working on this at the same time, and also the fact that the exciter is probably dealing with some of those frequencies as well, or manipulating those frequencies, I should say. So, I mean, especially the way that I've noticed that this track assistant focuses on the compressor, it definitely is unique to the sound that you're working on. And I can tell you that for a fact, because when I've watched the attack and the release on the compressor, I've noticed, especially even with the mix as well, I've noticed that it's unique to every single source that I'm working on. So yeah, the track assistant definitely is analyzing the mix, and it's really trying to figure out what's going on with the compression, what's going on with the EQ, if it needs transient shaping, which in most cases it seems to not put that on if you've already got a decent transient on your kick and your snare and all that sort of stuff. But it definitely utilizes the EQ and the exciter and the compressor, and it does put them in different order as well. So obviously, whatever it's doing behind the scenes, it seems to be working on the mix as a whole and understanding the mix. So the cool thing about, I guess, the transition between Alloy, because Alloy for me has been a mixing tool that I've used for quite a number of years now, and I really actually, at the start, I couldn't get used to Alloy. I couldn't really get used to the fact that everything was in that one plugin. I felt like it was kind of weird, because I felt like I had to use everything because it was all in there. But that was just when I first got it. I mean, over time I kind of adjusted to the fact that, yeah, I don't have to use everything that's on there just because it's got a button for it. I don't have to press the button and activate it, right? Like, I used to go along thinking, oh, okay, I got an EQ, I've got to make an EQ adjustment. I've got to, transient, I've got to make a transient adjustment. I mean, it was silly at the end of the day. But anyway, so that was just, the transition between understanding the plugin, understanding what each individual thing did, especially with dynamics and EQ. I mean, even now, to be honest, I don't think anybody has ever perfected EQ. There might be some people that really are fantastic at EQing and using their dynamics, their compressors and stuff like that. And there's absolutely fantastic mixers out there, and that's why you get such great stuff on the radio or wherever you hear it. But at the end of the day, everybody, I feel, is still learning at all stages of their mixing career, and I'm no different to that. But over time, I feel like if you use this plugin, the Neutron, I think maybe you might get lazy. But then again, I think if you're really keen on mixing and you pay attention to what it's doing, then you might actually learn a lot from the way that it adjusts to the mix. So obviously, whoever created this plugin within Izotope, their mindset and their ideals were to get you a good mix as fast as possible. And you know, it's definitely for, I guess, the home studio guy or even the professional who wants to get a mix that's quality. But as I was saying earlier, you know, you don't want to get lazy. You definitely want to understand what your EQ is doing. There is one thing in here that is great as well. It's this masking feature, which you have to actually allocate. Well, I'll just actually do it while I've got you now. Whoa. So if I put a neutron on my bass, for example, and I just hit the masking feature. So one thing I'll do, I'll put the track assistant on, I'll just play these two, I'll just close this off and pin this to the front here. Now I'll just play these two and I'll just show you this feature quickly so I don't waste too much of your time, but let me just play this and let's go from there. That's what it's doing, it's listening to the track. So as you can see, it's done its own EQ compression. Let me just close that, my bad. It's compression, it's using the vintage style compressor, obviously, vintage mode, so it does compress, you know, a decent amount, so maybe what, minus 2 dB, close to it. As you can see on the meter actually down here. So as you saw on the first thing with the compressor on this, the attack was way different to the attack on this as the bass. They're using different attack strategies, obviously, so it gets the most effective attack and release on the bass. I dare say that it's bringing the bass up front, but what they did do is EQ out a lot of the low end down the real low end frequencies, so they could use a shelf or a low end, sorry, a high pass filter, sorry, to get that low end frequencies out of the mix and create more stability within low end on the bass. The other thing is, you know, they're using an exciter which gives you a certain warmth to the bass. 2 compressors, one's actually interesting how they've done that. Yeah, so they're really trying to get that top end frequency and compress the absolute crap out of it. So they've used a really fast attack on that in the top end band. I mean, as you can see, that you can use 1, 2, 3, however many bands you want to put on this. You can put 2 bands, 1 band, you know, however you want to work this compressor. It's just giving you suggestions when it first comes on. But it's used a mix ratio of 60, which is really interesting because I guess especially when you're using multiband compression, when I first realized how to use it and still am trying to get used to the whole idea of multiband compression, I probably would have never thought of using the mix dial on multiband compression just because I felt overwhelmed with the fact that I was trying to figure out which frequencies to even compress at the same time. Now that I've been mastering tracks for at least 2 maybe years, I guess 2.5 maybe, I don't know, whatever it's been, and I've been using the multiband compressor within Ozone 6. As you can see, I've got some crazy EQ curves on my master bus, but the multiband compressor, I really am starting to love how it works, and I'm starting to understand the fact that certain frequencies you don't want to compress a lot and some of them you do, especially I guess on mastering. You know, you want to focus on the low end with control of the low end, and you know, the attack and release settings, I'm still adapting to the way that the multiband compressor works and the attack and release and all that sort of stuff, but I try to stick to the mindset of little is more, and it really has worked for me. And also one thing I've learned as well is I used a limiter maximizer which was made by AOM, and that was a eye-opener for me, I guess you could say. No, it's not AOM. It's DMG Limitless, I think. Sorry, yeah, DMG Audio. So Limitless was. Actually, I'll just bring it up so you can see it. So this is kind of like a multiband compressor, but it's a maximizer limiter. So it uses similar kind of ideas. So as you can see, it's got all those bands in the different colors, and it worked to a way that it really brought out my mix quite well. That's a demo version. So actually, let me just see if it still works. I've had this for way too long. I don't know why it still seems to be working. I'll check that out maybe later. Actually, I might just show you now, just so I can get an idea if it's still working. No, it stopped working. Okay, alright, so anyway, that's just some mucking around there. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to show you guys what this was, and if you've seen it before, maybe just give you a bit of an idea of how it works. And I might do another more in-depth video on you know, just setting it up on my mix and explaining the techniques that I feel like it's using. But I think I've kind of done a little bit of that now. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's this plugin is definitely something you want to check out if you're into mixing and you're into mastering, and just in general want to have a new toy in the toolbox. Don't overflow the toolbox with toys, but definitely keep it creative. You know, like don't get too stagnant. And I don't know, just I feel like Waves bring out new plugins all the time, and some of them are really expensive for what you get. And I just feel like this really gives you a lot of different features for maybe a quarter of the price, I guess, especially if you already own Izotope programs. But anyway, not to plug it or anything, I hope you guys get something out of this and enjoy. Peace.